Hello and welcome to Infilink video tutorial. In this video we are going to check out trend objects offered by Infilink. Infilink offers two types of trends: real-time trends and history trends. We are going to see history trend object today. So let's get started.
For this demonstration, we are going to use this Infilink project. On the screen we are seeing a trend object, plotting real-time tag data. In the bottom portion of the trend object, we are seeing values of two tags showing sinusoidal waveforms. These are generated by using Infilink scripting, which is running in the background. In the upper portion of the trend object we are seeing value of one more tag being plotted, and that value can be changed by sliding the slider object. Currently the trend object is plotting real-time data. Infilink uses same trend object to show historical tag data by switching to history mode. In history mode, trend object can be controlled by using trend control wizard object, which we are seeing here. By clicking this leftmost button, I can switch the trend object mode to show historical data. Notice that currently the button is showing R, indicating that the trend is in real-time mode. Let me switch the mode now. This button now shows H, indicating that the trend is now in history mode. These are the scroll buttons, which allow you to scroll the trend backwards and forward in time. The short scroll buttons are set to scroll the trend by 30 seconds, long scroll buttons are set to scroll the trend by 120 seconds. These settings can be changed. These two buttons show start time and end time of the trend object. Left end of the trend is corresponding to start time, right end of the object is corresponding to end time. I can change the start or end time and date of the trend object by clicking these buttons. Let us see how the start time can be changed. The button in the middle is showing time span of the trend, and clicking on it you can change the time span of trend object. Let us try that out. You will notice that along with setting the time span of the trend object, you can also set the timings for short and long scroll buttons on this dialog. Using this trend control wizard object is the easiest way to use historical mode of the trend object, and most users will prefer to use it. But Infilink also provides script commands to do these same actions. So, instead of using this trend control wizard object, you can create buttons and assign them script commands to carry out these actions on the trend object. For example, a button with script command, this one, trend1.mode equals 0, will cause the trend object to show real-time data. Script command, this one, trend1.mode equals 1, will cause the trend object to show history data. You will find information of these commands' syntax and usage examples in Infilink help documentation. Now let me put the trend object in real-time mode by clicking this button. Notice that R is now displayed on this button, indicating that trend is in real-time mode. Now let us move to the second trend object. On this screen, I am demonstrating how cursors can be used to see and analyze history data displayed on the trend object. Trend object is displaying history data read from the disk. You can see two cursors being displayed on this trend object. I can move the cursors on the trend object. Cursor object will display the time it is representing on the trend object. It will also display the tag values at that time instant. You can use two of such cursors. Tag values under the cursor are displayed on the cursor itself. The tag values under the cursor can also be assigned to tags. On the right, you are seeing a table of values. As I am moving cursor 1, you can see the values in column 1 are changing. This column is displaying values of tags assigned to pen 1, pen 2 and pen 3, which are at cursor position 1. As I am moving cursor 2, you can see the values in column 2 are changing. These are the tag values for pen 1, pen 2 and pen 3 at cursor position 2. You can see that I am also calculating the difference between corresponding tag values. So in row 1, I am calculating difference of tag values for tag associated to pen 1. Similarly, row 2 and row 3 are showing tag value differences for pen 2 and pen 3. I am calculating difference between two tag values at two time instances for demonstration. But you can use this capability to do any data analysis you may require for your application. You can use the power of Infilink scripting behind these trend object to do such data analysis. Syntax and usage examples of all the script commands used for this demonstration can be found in Infilink help documentation. We will also see how this all is set up in design mode of Infilink in later part of the video. Now let us move to third trend object. On this screen I am going to demonstrate zoom in and zoom out capabilities of the trend object. Zooming in or out in horizontal direction or time axis can be done by changing the time span of the trend object. It can be done for real-time and history mode of the trend object. Zooming in or out in vertical direction or value axis can also be done. I have created these buttons which allow me to zoom in, zoom out, or scroll up or down for vertical axis. I am using Infilink script commands for the trend object, and I have used those script commands behind these buttons. I can also reset the view if I want to restore original settings for vertical axis. We will now move to design mode of Infilink and check out how all these trend objects are set up. We are now in Infilink design mode. I am using the same project as we seen in run mode. I have just removed the trend control panel object, and now I am going to demonstrate how to set up that trend control object with this trend object. Infilink trend object is by default a real-time trend object. We can switch its operating mode to history mode and runtime. That is easily achieved by using a trend control wizard object. Before moving ahead, let me bring to your notice couple of points. I am now seeing at the trend object properties, specifically properties of the pens used for this trend. We see that we have used 3 pens for this trend, and these are the tags attached to those pens. Data logging is not enabled for these tags currently. Actually, by default, when you create any tag, data logging is not enabled for that tag. But whenever you use any tag in a trend, and use that trend as a history trend object, Infilink automatically enables data logging for that tag. Infilink checks whether a trend object is used as history trend object, while saving and compiling the project. Now we will create trend control wizard object. But before doing that, let us check the name of the trend object. This is our trend control object. We have to connect this control object to the trend object. That is done by entering the connected trend object name here. As our trend object is horizontal, we will use horizontal orientation for this control object as well. You can set other properties, like button sizes, fill color and text color, and default scroll times for short and long scroll buttons. When done, click OK, and our trend object is now connected to trend control object. When you save the project, Infilink will determine that you want to use this trend object as history trend object as well, and hence enable data logging for the tags used in this trend object. However, you have to ensure that data logging is enabled for the project. Let me show you where that is set. Our trend object along with trend control object are now fully set for showing historical data for these three tags. Now when you run the project, data for these three tags will be logged to the disk. When you want to see the history data on the trend, switch the mode of the trend object to history mode, and you will see that the trend object fetches the data from disk and plots it on the trend as we have seen previously. Now let us move to next section and see how cursors are set for the trend object. On this tab, you can set properties for both of the cursors. You can enable or disable any or both the cursors. You can also enable or disable tag values and time display on the cursor by these settings. Normally, requirement of most users will be satisfied by just enabling these settings. But if you want to access the time and tag values, which are associated at cursor position, then you can do that by providing tag names here. This is completely optional. You can keep both of these fields blank, and the cursors will work just fine. If you want to access the time associated at cursor position, then create a memory string tag and enter its name here. It will have to be a string tag. Infilink will update that string tag's value with the time associated with the cursor, when user moves cursor on the history trend object. You can then display the value of that string tag on the screen. If you want to access the tag values at the cursor position, then little bit more scripting is needed. First, create a memory tag with long data type. Then, assign that tag for this field. You will then write data change script for this tag. I will show that script just now. This kind of scripting is needed to access the tag values at cursor position. Let me quickly explain what is going on here. At line 1, we are telling the trend object that we are interested in getting the tag values at this position. At line 3, we are setting the current pen property of the trend object. At line 4, we are extracting the tag value for pen 1 and storing it in a tag. Similarly, tag values for pen 2 and 3 are extracted at line 6, 7, 9 and 10. Thus we get the tag values at cursor position 1. Similarly, tag values at cursor position 2 are also extracted. At line 12, 13 and 14, I am calculating the differences of tag values. If you want more help in this kind of scripting, then please write in the comments section below, and I will respond to you. Now let us move ahead and see how zoom in and zoom out effects are achieved for the trend object. Trend object has two properties, minimum range and maximum range. You can get or set these properties. For this trend object, originally minimum range property is set to -100, and maximum range property is set to +100. This is done in design mode while setting up the trend object. Scrolling up is achieved by incrementing both of these values. Scrolling down is achieved by decrementing both of these values. For zooming in, minimum range property is increment and maximum range property is decrement. For zooming out, minimum range property is decrement and maximum range property is increment. Let us see the actual scripting attached to these buttons. Please notice that the scripts are set to execute continuously at 200 milliseconds interval, while the button is pressed. This is scripting for scrolling up, executed while button is pressed at 200 milliseconds interval. This is scripting for scrolling down, executed while button is pressed at 200 milliseconds interval. This is scripting for zooming in, executed while button is pressed at 200 milliseconds interval. This is scripting for zooming out, executed while button is pressed at 200 milliseconds interval. This is scripting for reset button, executed at button down event, only once. We have covered lot of information which will be useful to you for using Infilink trend objects in history mode. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me by commenting in the comments section below. Thanks for watching this video and bye for now.